All right, let's jump right into it. Today, we're embarking on a massive historical journey to unpack the story of California. It's a region completely defined by exploration, radical transformation, and just relentless innovation. Let's dive right into the legacy of the Golden State. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this region, consider this fact. If California were an independent country right now, its GDP would rank fifth in the entire world. Just let that sink in for a second. We aren't just talking about a state here. We're talking about a global titan of business, technology, and culture that literally rivals massive sovereign nations. And backing up that unbelievable economic muscle is its population. We're talking nearly 40 million residents living there today, making it the most populous state in the US. So the core narrative question for our explainer today is this. How exactly did a single region grow from its early origins into this modern titan? I mean, how do you build an economy that large and attract that many people?
Part 1. Before the Gold Rush.
You know, the story of the Golden State actually begins long, long before it was ever called that. For thousands of years, California was home to more than 100 distinct Native American tribes. Communities like the Chumash, the Miwok, the Yokits, and the Pomo, they didn't just survive here, they truly thrived. They built sophisticated, enduring societies by tapping into the region's incredibly rich natural resources. Through hunting, fishing, farming, and extensive trade networks, these indigenous civilizations established the very first eras of human transformation on this land. Now, once Europeans arrived, power transitioned at just a breakneck pace. We go from that long era of indigenous history straight into 1769, which marked the onset of Spanish colonization. Fast forward just a few decades, and by 1821, we enter the period of Mexican rule. And then, just a short time later, in 1848, the U.S. cession. In historical terms, that shift from Spanish to Mexican to American control happened incredibly fast. Let's actually break down those first two European eras, because they were vastly different. Starting with explorer Gaspar de Portola, Spain's strategy relied on establishing a chain of 21 missions, spearheaded by Junipero Serra. The primary goals were spreading Christianity and strengthening Spanish control. But as our source notes, it's absolutely crucial to recognize that this mission system had deep, severe impacts on the indigenous communities, driven by disease, displacement, and forced labor. Contrasting that, the Mexican era began when Mexico won its independence from Spain in 1821. That mission system gave way to an economy dominated by massive ranches, known as ranchos, and a booming cattle ranching industry became the defining economic engine of the region. So by the mid-1840s, following the Mexican-American War, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, and Mexico ceded California to the United States. At this point, it was a sprawling territory known mostly for its cattle. But I want you to ask yourself, what specific catalyst sparked the dramatic shift from a quiet ranching territory into a global economic powerhouse? I mean, what was the actual spark? Boom! 1848. Gold is discovered at Sutter's Mill. And honestly, it is impossible to overstate the absolute frenzy this created. This wasn't just a local event. It was a worldwide phenomenon. Word got out, and the promise of instant wealth flipped the region on its head literally overnight.
Part 2. The Gold Rush Boom.
This highly chaotic, entirely transformative window between 1848 and 1855 set the trajectory for everything that followed. Just look at that exponential population spike post-1848. Hundreds of thousands of fortune seekers poured in from every corner of the globe. They left everything behind in search of wealth. This demographic and economic explosion was absolutely unprecedented. The population didn't just grow, it multiplied exponentially in a matter of years, which fundamentally accelerated economic development and laid the groundwork for major infrastructure. Part 3. Becoming the 31st state. So, with hundreds of thousands of new residents and this rapidly expanding, wild economy, formal organization was desperately needed. Transforming this ceded Mexican territory into a state really took 3 clear steps. Step 1, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, where the U.S. formally acquired the land. Step 2, the Compromise of 1850, which was a package of vital federal legislation. And finally, Step 3, formal statehood. On September 9, 1850, California was officially admitted as the 31st state of the United States. Part 4. Eras of Rapid Innovation. But here's the thing, a state cannot survive on a gold rush forever, right? Eventually, the gold runs out. What makes California's history so fascinating is how it pivoted. Moving into the late 19th and 20th centuries, To sustain that massive growth, California expanded its economy across multiple colossal industries. We're talking massive leaps in agriculture, the expansion of railroads tying the state to the rest of the country, lucrative oil production, and booming manufacturing. And as these industries grew, they built the major cultural and economic centers we know today, transforming places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego into absolute powerhouses of commerce. As we move further into the 20th century, two very specific, powerful regional identities really started to take shape, acting as dual engines for the state's dominance. Down in the South, you have Hollywood, which grew into the undisputed heart of the global entertainment industry. And up in the North, you have Silicon Valley, which established itself as the worldwide center of technological innovation. These two distinct hubs totally cemented California's reputation as a place where the future is invented and then broadcasted to the rest of the planet. Part 5. The Golden State Today. Okay, remember those staggering statistics from the beginning of our explainer? Well, here is exactly what drives them today. California maintains its global leadership by dominating across multiple sectors. It leads the world in technology and entertainment, sure, but also in massive agricultural output, cutting-edge renewable energy, and world-class scientific research. It is just a diversified economic juggernaut. And of course, all of this economic and cultural muscle is physically grounded in some of the most spectacular geography on Earth. Beyond the massive businesses and the booming population centers, the state is defined by iconic landmarks, from incredible man-made feats like the Golden Gate Bridge to the breathtaking natural extremes you'll find in Yosemite National Park and Death Valley National Park. And that pretty much brings our journey full circle. We've seen this incredible, continuous history of reinvention, from indigenous societies to Spanish missions, from Mexican ranchos to the gold rush, and from heavy industry all the way to digital tech. California completely transformed from a landscape of thriving early communities into a sprawling global powerhouse with a GDP larger than most nations. It's a legacy defined entirely by its ability to shift, adapt, and grow. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to ponder. For a region whose entire history is built on constant, massive change, what do you think is the next transformation for the Golden State? Thanks for joining me, and keep exploring.